Crisis in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The conflict escalates with Rwanda's involvement. The conflict in the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, has taken a dangerous turn, with South Africa issuing a stern warning to Rwanda over its alleged backing of the M23 rebel group. The warning came after a recent assault on the city of Goma, where 13 South African soldiers were killed while deployed as part of a peacekeeping force. The attack has intensified regional tensions, raising the possibility of a broader military confrontation in Central Africa. The question now is, why is the conflict in the DRC escalating, who is behind it, and what are the possible consequences? The roots of the DRC conflict and the role of M23 rebels. The DRC has been plagued by war for decades, with various armed groups fighting for control over territory, resources, and political power. The latest escalation centers around the March 23rd movement, M23, a rebel group primarily composed of ethnic Tutsis, which has been accused of receiving military and financial support from Rwanda. M23 was originally formed in 2012, claiming to fight against government corruption and for the protection of the Tutsi minority in the DRC. However, the group has been widely accused of war crimes, including massacres, sexual violence, and child soldier recruitment. After being defeated in 2013, M23 resurfaced in 2021, launching a fresh wave of attacks across eastern Congo. Their latest offensive has seen them take strategic areas near Goma, a city that serves as a critical economic hub in the region. With their attacks intensifying, concerns are growing that the conflict could spill over into neighboring countries. The South African National Defense Force, SANDF, which has been deployed as part of a regional peacekeeping force, became a direct target of M23 rebels, leading to the deaths of 13 soldiers. South Africa's government has now directly accused Rwanda of supporting M23, warning that further attacks on its troops would be seen as a declaration of war. Who is behind the crisis? The Rwanda-DRC connection. The Rwandan government has repeatedly denied backing M23, but evidence suggests that Rwanda has provided military and logistical support to the rebels. The United Nations, the European Union, and multiple intelligence reports have pointed to direct Rwandan involvement, with allegations that Kigali is using M23 to secure influence over eastern Congo's mineral wealth. The DRC is one of the most resource-rich countries in the world, with vast reserves of gold, diamonds, cobalt, and coltan, minerals essential for smartphones, electric vehicles, and other high-tech industries. By backing M23 rebels, Rwanda is accused of securing control over illegal mining operations, smuggling minerals into its own economy, and selling them to international markets. To put this into perspective, 60% of the world's cobalt supply comes from the DRC. Illegal mineral trade in eastern Congo generates billions of dollars annually. Western tech companies depend on these resources, often unknowingly purchasing materials tied to conflict zones. With M23 expanding its territory, Rwanda stands accused of orchestrating the violence to maintain economic dominance, while the Congolese government struggles to reclaim control over its lands. South Africa's warning to Rwanda signals a possible regional war, as tensions between the two nations escalate. If South Africa and the Southern African Development Community (SADC) retaliate militarily, the conflict could spiral into a full-scale international confrontation. The humanitarian impact, a crisis beyond borders. While political leaders and rebel groups battle for power and resources, it is ordinary Congolese civilians who suffer the most. The ongoing violence has already displaced over 7 million people, making it one of the world's worst humanitarian crises. Over 1 million people have fled to overcrowded refugee camps in neighboring Uganda, Rwanda, and Burundi. Malnutrition and disease outbreaks have increased due to food shortages and lack of medical supplies. Women and children are the primary victims, with reports of sexual violence and forced recruitment into armed groups on the rise. The United Nations and humanitarian organizations have called for urgent international intervention, but the situation remains dire. With limited access to food, clean water, and medical aid, thousands of Congolese face life-threatening conditions every day. One refugee, Marie Kalenga, who fled Goma with her 3 children, described the horrors of war. "We had to run in the middle of the night. Bullets were flying everywhere. My husband stayed behind to protect our home, and now I don't know if he's alive. As violence continues, the humanitarian disaster is expected to worsen, with aid agencies struggling to provide support amid security threats. What happens next? The future of the DRC conflict, with South Africa openly warning Rwanda, the likelihood of military escalation is rising. The international community faces increasing pressure to take decisive action before the conflict expands. There are three possible scenarios moving forward. 1. Diplomatic resolution. The African Union, AU, United Nations, UN, and regional leaders step in to broker peace talks between the DRC, Rwanda, and South Africa, forcing a ceasefire and political settlement. 2. Military confrontation. If Rwanda is found to be directly involved in M23 attacks, South Africa and its allies could retaliate militarily, escalating into a regional war. 3. Ongoing conflict and humanitarian disaster. If no action is taken, M23 continues expanding, millions remain displaced, and Congo's humanitarian crisis worsens, leading to further economic collapse. To prevent a regional catastrophe, world leaders must act fast. The US, European Union, and African leaders must pressure Rwanda to withdraw its support for M23 and push for a negotiated peace deal. The question remains, will the world take decisive action, or will the DRC become another forgotten war? What do you think? Should South Africa intervene further, or is diplomacy the only solution? Share your thoughts in the comments. Stay updated on breaking news by subscribing to my YouTube channel for expert analysis and following me on TikTok for quick updates.